Hilary Scruggs, anyone know her? Owner of Operative Ventures. She returned to Texas in 2008 after doing a whole bunch of stuff in New York City. Anybody here? Yeah. A highly personalized array of services to an elite private clientele, specializing in residential work. But she has, before that, honed her professional skills with NDSM design, where she designed and managed high-end residential projects in Manhattan. What are you doing slumming here? Previous work featured in all kinds of publications, including Vogue, Architectural Digest, New York Times Magazine, and Mood Magazine. She holds a bachelor's in architecture from Cornell, and then, whereupon graduation, she was awarded the Alpha Rho Chi Medal for leadership, service, and promise of professional merit. And thank you for coming back to San Antonio from New York City. Please welcome Hilary Scruggs.
Wow. Starting to wish that maybe I had a drink before this happened, but I guess it's go time. Oh, one more space bar? Okay, sorry. All right, this thing moves so fast, so I have to be brief about thanking the organizers of this event for including me and to all of you for attending. So thanks very much. It's such an honor, and I'm going to do my best attempt at infotainment, as they say. But in the way of a preface, I should say a word or two about the images. I've selected images of some work by noted artists, photographers, and other architects that I find inspiring, and because they in one way or another relate to my general topic, which is home building. And I've arranged these images in the way of a sort of narrative, thinking that maybe if the speech part is boring, you can hopefully take away some kind of aesthetic experience. So anyway, I'm going to share some information and thoughts of mine on the industry they call home building tonight. A December 2010 estimate from the U.S. Census Bureau states that private residential construction made up roughly 28% of the total construction spending in the U.S. Last year. It bears mentioning that this comes at a time when inventories of homes are at record highs around the country due to an epic national housing bust, a global recession, and an ongoing credit crisis. Sadly, architects design approximately 3% of these homes, although that statistic is disputed by some on the basis of replication, i.e. an architect designs one home and a builder reproduces 1,000 of them. But anyway, what I derive from these figures, speaking as an architect as well as a home builder, and I consider residential work my passion and my specialty, is that our role in the so-called home building industry is hardly epicentric. Homeownership ranks among the most revered tenets of the so-called American dream. Political leaders and sociologists ascribe all sorts of benefits to it, from urban aesthetics to community activism. Yet suburban narratives and imagery in contemporary culture, at one time a symbol of American democracy, progress, and idealism, increasingly conveys social alienation and cultural decline. To quote George Carlin, "It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it." At the present time, the home building industry is culpable for a variety of ills, from ecological problems associated with excessive development to economic woes in the wake of the housing bust. And much has been written about how, as Americans, our role as consumers has replaced our role as citizens in our democracy. And it is easy to write off the negative aspects of residential development as a byproduct of late capitalism. Consider that in 2009, 24% of all new single-family homes were backed by FHA loans, when in 2007 that figure was 4%. While that statistic speaks primarily to the state of liquidity in our banking system, there's a secondary meaning that I think is important to examine. The home building industry in its current form is not supported by consumer demand. Not unlike various institutions in the banking and automotive industries, the home building industry in this country is, quote, too big to fail. Right or wrong, the home building industry has largely been preserved by our leadership because it is a economic recovery. Meanwhile, consumer trends, lifestyle preferences, and forthright necessity are pushing for changes against the resistance of this hard times. Statistics from the U.S. Census Bureau and the National Association of Home Builders indicate that the average American home is getting smaller, more technologically advanced, and more energy efficient. Not only that, but people are moving back inside the loop. From young professionals just out of college to empty nesters and retirees, home buyers are increasingly listing location and proximity to work and amenities as a much higher priority than in years past. While sources may differ on the degree, homes that are architect designs and homes with some sort of green rating on the whole sell for more than their conventional counterparts. Consider also that we are living in a time where architecture and design occupies a larger place in the public sphere than at any time, possibly ever, in the course of history. On the popular end, we can look to design and home improvement shows on cable television, the spread of design media, both online and on print, and the success of high-low marketing efforts such as Target's Go Designers. On the higher end, notable cultural buildings, beginning with Frank Gehry's Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, have spurned a so-called Bilbao effect. Cities around the globe, from Dubai to Biloxi, Mississippi, are using distinctive and brand-name architecture to glean both tourist revenue and urban growth. To stop myself short of swimming into a shameless pitch for the power of design, I want to recall a quote I rather like from Hunter S. Thompson at the end of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It was the tension between these two poles, a restless idealism on one hand and a sense of impending doom on the other, that kept me going. Troubling times present the opportunity for change, but a sense of necessity for change must be broadly acknowledged and supported. Realistically, it's not the role of the architects and designers of the world to manifest change. It is our role to constructively respond to society's demand for change, and I hope that I've made the case that while perhaps marginal, that demand does exist in the present day. Speaking to home building, but also broadly, I believe that now more than ever, architects and designers can have a positive and meaningful role in our nation's development. But success will require a new approach, one that is equal parts aspiration and pragmatism. Only by synthesizing the demands of tomorrow with the resources of today can we have a shot at preserving this precarious thing called the American dream. Thank you.